you're just talking to me. Okay, so we talked in the past, you said the other day that your mother was Catholic, but your father was Lutheran.
Yes.
And you went to two different churches on Sunday mornings.
Yes, we would get up on a Sunday morning, and we would, depending on how early we got started, sometimes my dad dropped us off and then he took the car to church, and then after church, it was about 8-10 blocks we would walk from, because we were out of church sooner than he was. We would walk from our church on 3rd Street over to 10th Street, and the car wasn't locked so we could get in. Or sometimes we dropped him off and then we kept the car. I don't know what made the difference, but sometimes there was a reason that we did that.
So when you were at home, did you practice Catholicism more, or did you practice Lutheranism more?
Well, we said prayers before the meal.
Mm-hmm.
We said bedtime prayers. We just practiced the Bible or God.
Right.
I never was aware of what we were doing was. I never identified it as, oh, this is Catholic or this is Lutheran.
But like during Lent, did you have to give up things for Lent and then have fish on Fridays?
Yeah, we gave up things for Lent. Yes. And my dad, he would give up things. He did what we did,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have a favorite holiday?
A favorite holiday. Well, I think maybe, like Memorial Day, 4th of July, we would go out the picnic out at the River Road, and we would. There was my aunt and uncle. There was like 3 or 4 families would go, and then we would, once we had our lunch, we would pack it all back in the baskets and put it under the tree in the shade. We never had a cooler.
Mm-hmm.
And the potato salad and stuff just went in the shade, and never were we sick, not once.
Yeah.
But anyway, and then we would play ball. Everybody, my Uncle Chris, who was like maybe at that time had to have been 70, he even played ball.
Oh, wow.
Everybody chose up sides and everybody was on a team. And it was just such fun.
That's great. And those are like secular, those are like national holidays as opposed to religious holidays. Like,
yes.
So your favorite holidays were ones where you could get outside and play.
Yeah, we were outside. Mm-hmm.
And be with everybody and picnic. Because Christmas and Easter tend to be cooler holidays.
Yeah,
it's colder, you can't be outside.
They're colder temperatures,
Yeah.
Well, Easter is usually hopefully warmer than
a little, yeah, it should be, yeah. Was your family a political family?
No. And even when we went pretty much, if not every week, it would be every 2 weeks, went to one of the relatives. They didn't so much come to our house, but we went to their house. We had a car.
Mm-hmm.
And played cards. So we played cards, and we got a letter from Aunt Annie, Grand Island, Nebraska. We talked about Nebraska.
All right.
What was going on? How do you think we didn't live on the farm, but we did.
Mm-hmm.
I said to Courtney, we never lived on the farm, but we really did. They talked about how the crops were going and whatever. It was just, it was really different. Yeah, we talked about farming.
So it sounds like your family life was determined, or it had rhythms that went with the seasons. Like politics and religion didn't really matter as much as how the family was getting by and how you could be outside and when you were inside.
Yes.
Yeah. And so your dad's family and your mom's family were both farmers.
Yes.
The dog is whining. No, baby girl.
But one time, my mother's father, I think, had 6 farms, and they had hired hands, and they went to Texas for the winter.
Mm-hmm.
My mother and my grandparents and siblings, and the hired hands ran the farms.
What was in Texas?
Well, it was warmer than Nebraska. There was no snow. They must have had a farm in Texas that they went to and spent there.
Wow.
Yeah, they
had 5 or 6 working farms.
They were very affluent one time, and then I think then after when the Depression came and so forth, people just lost everything. It was terrible. It was a terrible time.
I didn't realize your family had been that affected. So they were affluent at one point.
Mother's family was, yes. Mm-hmm.
How did you find that out?
I don't know
what
how
do
we
you know
got to
about
talking about it. And then after Mother died, Cordy and I said, oh, good heavens, we should have had notebooks out. We should have been taking notes.
Yeah.
And we really should have been asking more questions, because we had so many questions that there was no one to ask, because my Aunt Charlotte was already deceased, and they were the only two that lived in Michigan. The rest of the family all still lived in Nebraska.
Wow. Wow. What is the earliest president you remember?
The earliest president?
President, yeah.
Ooh. Well, I remember Eisenhower. I voted for him. I was old enough to vote for him that year.
Yeah, Eisenhower would have been after World War One. After World War Two, I mean, after World War Two.
No, Truman was after that, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Truman. Oh, Roosevelt. I remember Roosevelt.
Do you? Yeah, because I think that would have been your time.
Yeah, 36 years he was president for three
terms, yeah. 12 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you remember about him?
Pardon me?
What do you remember about him?
I guess I remember that. I think he was very honored. It seems to me as a child, you didn't hear a lot of grumbling.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, maybe people then didn't grumble. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. But politics it wasn't, loud and a lot of, they didn't have sides. They just, well, they must have all, being that they were all farmers, they all were, they had the same political, they had the same politics, because they believed in things and voted for presidents that would do things that would help the farmer.
Help the farmers, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you remember Eleanor Roosevelt at all? Was she a role model for you?
Yes, I remember Eleanor. I remember her well. She just was, women weren't that in the forefront in the 40s. And she was certainly in the forefront. Mm-hmm. And there, you heard about her on the news. She took a train trip across, I don't know if it was across the whole America, and looked at the wash lines. She could tell what the economy was by looking at the wash line.
What? I don't understand that. Explain that.
Well, it would depend what kind of clothes they had. If they had pajamas, the family had pajamas, no pajamas.
Yeah.
They couldn't afford pajamas, so they didn't have them. Oh, that family had pajamas.
Yeah.
And I would say tablecloths would indicate some economy to some point,
Affluence, maybe.
Whether they had them or didn't have them.
Yeah.
Whether they had used cloth or maybe they used oilcloth.
Oh, yeah.
I remember,
yeah.
boy, every house had the table was covered with the tablecloth when I
Yeah.
was a kid. Anyway, that my family. See, we didn't associate with much other than what our family was. So everything you went and saw someplace else, you saw it at home.
Right. Right. I think Truman came before Eisenhower.
Truman came, yeah, I think you're right. There was Roosevelt.
Truman was during World War II.
Yeah.
And then Eisenhower had been a general during World War II.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I should know that.
And Roosevelt, Truman was his vice president, I think the third term. And then he ran for president. Well, he became president because Roosevelt died.
Roosevelt died, yeah, and then he probably
then he ran the next. He was finished out that term, and I can't remember. I think it was maybe just 2 years or a year and a half, and then he ran for president again. Mm-hmm. Well, he ran for 2 more terms.
Right. Truman could have run for 2 terms. Yeah.
So, and at that point, that's when legislation came out that they couldn't serve more than 2 terms.
Right. Yeah.
And it's too bad that cities didn't do that because you've got some cities where the same person took that job at 25 and they were still there at 50.
Term limits. We still don't have term limits.
Yep.
Yeah.